Hello there and welcome. I'm Ole Brøgger, and if you're new here, I really hope I'll earn your subscription today. Today we got a very special guest here. This is Freja. She's 10 years old and she never tried to paint miniatures before. Can you say hello, Freja?
Hello.
She speaks. That's awesome. We went to a Hero Forge. She designed this nice little horse. She's going to paint it today. So we got a lot of work, and we actually got more work than this, because I thought it was better if this little horse had someone to take care of it. So I printed a little girl. Right now it's all about priming and painting the horse. So let's get started. Are you excited about painting a miniature?
Yes.
Yes? And you never tried it before?
No.
But I'm gonna teach you. So first we're going to prime these, and we will bring them over here. Down here on the table we have some brushes. This is when we are going to paint some details. And we have a big brush. We will use that for the brush-on primer. And then we have some others if we are going to need them. Here on the table we have a tiny cloth. We have a palette, and we have another palette here. This is a silicone palette. And up here we have what we call a wet palette. A wet palette is a sponge, and then there's a piece of paper on top of it. I let the sponge soak up a lot of water. Here we're going to put our droplets of paint. It will keep them moist. This is our brush-on primer. The reason why we are going to prime the miniatures is that paint won't stick very well on this plastic. This is 3D printed resin. And one more important thing, always shake the paint. Now you just shake it and give it all you got. Now we have the brush and primer shaken, and we're going to put 2 layers of primer on the miniature. And here we can use the big brush. First we're going to make it wet. Now it is nice and wet. We can start loading up the brush with plenty of primer, and it's nice and thin, watered down. And when it is this thin, it will just run down the cavities and cracks where we're going to need it. And I almost forgot. We also got some painting handles. Makes it a lot easier to paint the miniatures. You won't get so much paint on your fingers. One thing that's very important, clean your brushes every time you're done using them. And never leave the brush in water, because you will bend the tip. Then we have this little cloth where we can wipe it off. You can see there's still paint on here. You chose the horse should be beige. And we're going to work with these 4 colors. We will start with the leather brown, and then we will work our way up in layers with these 2 nuances of the brown. This is for the mane and the tail. So first we're going to use the leather brown, and we will put a tiny drop up here. I found 2 brushes, load up some paint in it. And one thing that is important is that we're only loading half of the brush there. So no paint up here, only on the tip. So we will make the brush wet, wipe it on the cloth, and spin it at the same time to get a pointy tip. We will make it wet and load some paint into the brush. And just wipe up off a tiny bit of the paint. We still need some paint on the brush. And then we can start applying some paint to the horse. I'll just drag the paint down. This is what we call the ugly face. It's not gonna look pretty, except that the horse will get some color on it. And then we just need to clean the brush so we can move on to the next color. And I think we are going to paint the mane and the tail with this bootstrap brown. Then it's just the same procedure. Wet the brush, wipe off the water, and get some paint into the brush. I don't think this brown color is dark enough, so maybe we should switch it out. This brigandine brown is a bit darker, and I think we are going to use that for the mane and tail instead. I got a couple of brand new brushes here. Make it wet and a lot of water. You can see it's very stiff and needs to be softened up with the water. Just dip it a couple of times. And you can see I'm only putting paint up to half of it. And then we can start to paint some of the smaller details. This is a wash, and this is the magic stuff we have to make some effect and shadows on our miniature. And it's a very liquid paint. And that is why I don't want this on my wet palette, because it will soak down into the sponge and mess it up. I have this silicone palette, and then we're going to use these big brushes. For now, we will just dip and soak up a lot of this wash into the brush and just soak it in. And it has a bit longer dry time. You have time to work with the paint and wipe it off where you don't want it. You can just wipe it off. As you can see on this one here, we want it to be in that crack here in the neck of the horse. On the big surface here, it's a bit hard to work with the wash because it will try to puddle up where we don't want it. So I will wipe most of it off. And while we have the big brush out, we might as well paint the base in the same dark brown color. While the horses here are drying up, we still have some wet spots here. We will start painting the little girl. And we will start with the skin color. And we will start with this tourmaline skin. We don't need much because there's not much skin on this tiny girl. And again, we will wet the brush, load it with paint. Now we will just have to stay within the lines. And remember, this is still the ugly face, so if you paint outside, it doesn't matter. Especially with the skin color, because it's pretty easy to cover up with another color. Let's put some color in her hair, and we will use this ivory white. This is one of the new colors from the John Blanchy set, and I really love this color. And we want the dress pink. And the shirt should be purple. And then we will just move on with the purple. And since we still got the brigandine brown on our palette, we might as well use it for the boots. Since we're going to paint the base the same color, it doesn't matter if we just splatter the paint all over. Now we need some steady hands because this is very tiny. Now I just need to paint an apple, and with the Army Painter's John Blanche set, it was the perfect red. It is really the best red color I have ever used. What do you think about an apple in this color?
Good.
This is a very high pigmented red color, so you don't need much paint on the brush. We actually need a tiny little green dot, some leafy green. Now I really need my funny glasses because my eyes can't see. I think I have a fire here, hair here. And now we can paint the eyes. And I have already, I can see on my brush, I have too much paint. It's looking better. The horse will also need some white in its eyes. Let's put some wash on the girl. This time we don't want too much because we have so vibrant colors. So I will actually thin down the wash with some wash medium that will thin the color a bit. And then we just need to mix up the wash. Almost turns gray. Now she will be very dirty. She was soaking herself into some mud. We really need to wipe off everything so we only get the wash into all the recesses. While the wash is drying up on the girl, we will go back and start painting the horse. We will go back to this leather brown. Then we will need a lot of water in this, because we need it to be very thin. I'll just pull the brush down from the horse's back very slowly. And here you can see how thin the paint is. We want it almost transparent. The horse is a bit brighter in the toe now, and we will also need to make some highlights. And here we will go with this paratrooper tan, and we will just repeat the process again. Take a very thin paint and slowly pull it over from the horse's back. Urban buff. Now we're going to make some dry brushing. You know what this is? Makeup brushes. If you would like to paint at home, you just go steal some of your mom's. We will take a clean cloth. And when we're talking about dry brushing, it's all about having almost no paint on the brush. I'll just slightly dip. And the brush is still dry. We don't put water on the brush at all. Then we just wipe everything off in the cloth. So there's almost no paint. And you can try here on the table. You can see there's almost no paint here. And then we just start to wipe the horse. You can put some more paint on it because I think you wiped most of it off. And then you just wipe everything off again in the cloth. Just give it a good wipe. Now we just need to put some grass on the base. And for that we will need some glue. We have some thearmypainter basing glue. Let's see if I can squeeze anything out of this. And then we will use one of our brushes that we absolutely don't care about. This is an old brush. It's almost broken and I already cut off the tip because it was bent. So this is actually a good dry brush. I will take some glue. This time it's very important you don't hit the horse because everywhere there's glue, there will also be grass when we're putting it on. And then we have some battlefield grass green and some tufts. That's a good idea to put these tufts on before we put the grass on. Then you will gently just sprinkle the grass all over the base. Now we just need to put a tiny dot into the horse's eyes. I have this fine liner pen. It is only 0.05 millimeters thick. Look how tiny it is. I can just put a tiny dot to the horse's eye. Are you ready to finish up the girl?
Yes.
We're just going to use the same colors as we did before. We have the purple and we have the pixie pink. And to make some final highlight, we will introduce pink potion. We also need the skin color. And now we're going to make some highlights. Here on the dress, I will only use the side of the bristles and gently just pull down and only hit the highest points of the miniature. And here on the shirt, we will only paint the top of her breasts and her arms with the purple we used before. And then we will need to make some final highlights here on her face. And to make this apple pop, we will need the red. We will just put a tiny drop of red on top of the apple. She also needs a couple of eyes, and we will use the fine liner pen again. Just a tiny dot into each eye. And then we finally need to put some grass on the base. Just sprinkle it nice and easy all over the base. Make sure it covers everything. So, Freja, we are done. Did you like painting?
Yeah.
Was it fun? You know what? I actually reached out to a company called thearmypainter. This is the paint they are making. I told them about we are going to make this video. They actually want to give you a present, and I have it right here. It is still in the box. They mailed it to me. If you really like painting, you can start painting by yourself when you get home. This is the Fanatic starter paint. There's a tiny miniature in there. This is yours. And this is it for now. This is Freja. She painted a nice horse, and we also had time to paint a little girl that can take care of that horse. I think Freja did a very good job painting these miniatures. Now you can see it before we end. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate you all being here. And if you like this video, please hit that subscribe button if you already haven't done it. Leave a comment below what you think about Freja's paint job. I will be back soon, and until then, have a great day. Goodbye for now.